Our next storyteller is an incredible human being. He is a multi-award winning living legend in the world of photojournalism. The lens through which Mike views the world is a rare one. He spent over 37 years in the Federal Parliamentary Press Gallery. He's documented the development of 13 federal election campaigns, followed 10 prime ministers around the world. He's exposed the realities of the front lines of human conflict in Kosovo, Cambodia, Aceh, Bougainville. When you look at his work, what really stands out is he captures the humanity of the moment in just such sharp focus. You'll know him from Talking Pictures, which he does now on ABC's Insider, where he's talking about other people's photos, or OPP, if you know me. Really? Nobody? No Naughty by Nature? Fuck Glover, your fans really need to get off your feet. There's a band called Naughty by Nature. They had a song about OPP. It was about pussy, but never mind. I use it with my wife, Audrey, who's here tonight, when we're going past someone else's house and they've got a nice plant. She could other people's plants, boink, and then gets the cutting. So his career has been spent looking at other people, and on Talking Pictures, he looks at other people's photographs. But tonight, Mike Bowers is showing us a self-portrait. That's right. There's 5, if you're counting, because I am. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Bowers.
I was asking Osher and some others, I said, look, I've got this story I want to tell. How easy is it to offend people at this? And I was assured that it's very difficult to offend you, so I'm going to give it a red-hot go. I am an analogue guy. I'm, in fact, all analogue. I sometimes feel very out of step in this digital reality that we now inhabit. Like I can't quite tap my foot to the right musical beat. I started photography with film, or more precisely, I started, as most photographers did in those days, paddling around in chemistry in darkrooms. Don't be fooled, however. Anyone who gets nostalgic and misty-eyed about working in darkrooms has never actually worked in one. They are smelly, usually unventilated, and the nasty chemicals give you psoriasis. But I digress. I dated pre-smartphones. It was all analogue. My dating app was called Jackie, and she was a fellow photographer from the Sydney Morning Herald where I worked. One day she said to me, "You should meet my housemate. She likes you and she's hot." Now, I swiped left a number of times on Jackie because she was prone to exaggeration, but she persisted. One day I met her flatmate, Paula. She was delightful and she was hot, just as Jackie had said. We hit it off straight away on our first date together. We played pool at a well-known drinking establishment in Canberra called the Kingo. Years later, we would revisit the Kingo with our kids when we went for a meal at that particular drinking establishment. We would take them into the pool room and announce, "This is where Mummy and Daddy first snogged." Shall we reenact this for you? Nothing grosses teenagers out quite as much as the thought of their parents snogging. Fast forward a few years from that snogging night and we're expecting our second child. I had become picture editor of the Sydney Morning Herald. That first date had certainly escalated very quickly. We now had a mortgage, grown-up jobs, 1 child and 1 on the way, and a dog. We had a rough plan to get married, but life had got in the way so far, and marriage was pushed off into the future. I had, however, bought Paula an engagement gift, as she never wore any jewellery. Her present was a classic 64 Mini Cooper S. She loved the classic Minis and I loved all cars, so it seemed like a sensible gift. She was 6 foot tall, however, and she pretty much had to fold herself into that car. I call it the praying mantis getting into a matchbox manoeuvre. Anyway, I felt like the Mini is emblematic of our relationship. An old classic that goes like hell when it's running well. Anyway, back to my grown-up job. I was now the photographic editor of the Sydney Morning Herald. The job sounds grand, but it's just managing expectations 24/7 and everything that goes wrong is your fault. If you're performing so the photographers like you, the management hates you. And if the management likes you, you can almost guarantee that the photographers despise you. The best you can expect is a 50% of each of them hate you at any one time in your career. It's thankless, and I do not recommend it at all. Just before the birth of number 2 child, I had to attend the grandly titled Fairfax Picture Editors meeting in Melbourne. All the photo departments from the Fairfax-owned papers, of which in those days there were a number, would gather together to discuss stuff. It was a period of huge upheaval for newspapers. Digital was disrupting the rivers of gold that were newspaper classified advertising, and digital cameras had taken over in photo departments, speeding up what was possible in photojournalism. Apart from the weighty issues of running a photo department, there was usually a lot of alcohol involved. A whole lot. I no longer drink and have not done now for 15 years. However, I need to explain something about my drinking days. I would reach a point of inebriation where the consequences of what I was doing just would not register. This is funny was my overriding thought process. And as you can imagine, it got me in a lot of trouble. Let me illustrate this with an example. When I was photographing Canberra for the Sydney Morning Herald, I accompanied John Howard on an official visit to Japan. We stayed at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's quite an expensive hotel, even in those days. A cup of coffee was about $10 US. One night I was returning from a long night of karaoke, and I remember having to use the corridor walls to assist my forward motion. I noticed that my neighbour was the journalist Tony Wright. He'd hung out his breakfast menu. He had selected a modest breakfast of coffee and toast. I remember thinking, we can do better than that, Tony. I thought in my impaired decision-making condition that I would decide it would be absolutely hilarious to enhance his breakfast order, and I ticked every box on the menu. Every single box. Tony later told me that he had been called by the people in the morning, but he thought it was his wake-up call, so he dismissed it. So he actually missed a chance to stop them. And then he told me 4 waiters had turned up with trolleys packed with food. On his return, Tony informed the accountants that he had hosted a number of very important contacts for breakfast, and they paid the $3,000 US. Without question. You could get away with things like that in those days. You wouldn't now. Tony and I are still great mates despite my youthful stupidity, and in fact he dines out on this story. If you ever run into him, ask him to tell you about it. He is one of the world's great raconteurs, and he can tell this story far better than I can. Anyway, as you see, my ability to connect action with consequence after a certain amount of alcohol is highly questionable. Back to the night of the picture editors' conference. I returned to my room in a similar condition to that I was in Tokyo, a little worse for wear, let's say. When I woke up the next morning, it was only what can be described as a crime scene. My pants were around my ankles, and I was obviously unable to remove my boots, so my pants had remained half pulled down, but still on. The complicated task of boot removal, obviously beyond my midnight abilities. Most disturbing, however, and I apologise here, this gets very graphic, I had shat the bed. It was everywhere. I remember thinking, well, look at me. Here I was, only a month away from being a father for the second time, supposedly leading 47 of Australia's finest photojournalists, and I got so munted I shat the bed. Shame, guilt and remorse, you know that hungover stuff you get? It swept me, and I immediately made all sorts of reformist promises to myself. And then I headed off to the bathroom in a fruitless attempt to sanitise the scene. As I delicately made my way to the shower, wrapped in the sheet, I remember thinking, where's my Labrador? After all, I've been picking up his shit for years. Time to return the favour, Tommy. As I attempted to allow the water to wash away my shame, I ran through how I was going to explain this to Paula. Oh, by the way, darling, in Melbourne I drank so much I shit the bed. It's a hard sell. What was going to be my line to my friends when I refused to drink at social events? I can't drink because I shit myself. This is a fairly tough conversation. How did it come to this? I was beginning to really get rolling with the self-loathing. As I desperately scrubbed away at the sheets with soap on the floor of the shower, the hungover fog had slowed my thinking. However, slowly in this impaired state, I realised something was terribly wrong. How do I put this delicately? The material didn't quite have the right texture. A warm feeling enveloped me as I realised it was in fact chocolate. I had not shit the bed. Thank God the relief made me cry, almost because I didn't feel now obliged to follow through with the draconian life reforms I had promised to undertake just minutes before. Getting fit, training for running, joining the gym, abstaining from alcohol completely, taking up swimming again, getting on my bike. Sounds horrid. After emerging clean from the shower, I examined the evidence that was left and I began to piece it together. A half-empty box of chocolates was under the doona. I had come home in quite a state. No consequences mode had been fully activated, and I decided I really needed to consume the chocolates I had bought Paula as a gift for being away while she was heavily pregnant. I had fallen asleep on the open box of the remaining chocolates that had escaped my late-night munchies. As I rolled around on the bed, no shirt, pants around my ankles, RM still on, I had melted the chocolates through the entire bed as I had slept off my fevered drunk. The two extremes of total shame and remorse and then warm relief and, oh, that's okay then. Are my endearing memories of this experience. I can't imagine what room service thought of the wet sheets, still slightly stained brown in a soggy pile in the bath. I had re-entered the shower and tried desperately to remove all the traces of chocolate, but I couldn't get them clean. I left what remained of the melted and squished chocolates as a clue, hoping they'd piece it together. I fled the scene for Tullamarine. To this day, every time room service turns down my bed and leaves a chocolate on my hotel pillow as a goodnight gesture, I think of that night. After all, who doesn't like chocolates?
Mike,